Good morning, future CPAs. We are the group for Relentless and we are going to discuss the interim financial reporting. Let us first define interim financial reporting. It means the preparation and presentation of financial statements for a period of less than 1 year. PAS 34 presents the minimum content of the interim financial statement. It may be presented monthly, quarterly, or semi-annually. Basically, interim financial reporting is the preparation of financial reports for interim periods other than the annual financial statements. When we say interim period, it is a financial reporting period shorter than a full financial year. According to PAS 34, the interim periods na ina-adapt ng entities are semi-annual or quarterly. Pagka sinabing semi-annual, there are 2 interim periods within a year, and kapag quarterly, there are 4 interim periods. Yung financial reports na ginagawa sa interim period ay yung tinatawag natin na interim financial report. So, ang most common type of financial statement na ipinapresent sa interim financial reporting is the quarterly financial statement. Publicly listed entities encouraged to prepare semi-annually, not later than 60 days after the end of interim period. And PAS 34 does not prescribe which entities are required to publish. Public listed entities ay yung mga companies wherein inilalagay nila yung stocks nila sa market and the general public can buy their stocks. So sila ay ine-encourage to prepare their interim financial report semi-annually so that the shareholders will be able to know the performance of the company in half a year. However, si Securities and Exchange Commission and the Philippine Stock Exchange, nare-require nila yung mga entities under Revised Securities Act and Rules on Commercial Papers and Financing Act na mag-provide ng quarterly financial report within 45 days after the end of each of the first 3 quarters. So, may mga components ang interim financial report. Meron tayong condensed statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, statement of changes in equity, statement of cash flow, and selected explanatory notes. What is condensed? So, it is all your financial transactions from the date covered sa current year and sa previous years mo. Sabi rin dito, items in profit or loss can be presented in a separate condensed income statement. You can create separate income statement if may mga special transactions na pumapasok as profits or loss, which is component of statement of comprehensive income. Condensed headings and subtotal presented in the entity's most recent annual financial statement is required. If an entity wants a condensed financial statement, they need to follow the standard on interim financial reporting, which is the PAS 34. If the entity wants to present naman a complete financial statement, of course, they should follow the PAS 1, the standard of governing financial statement in a whole year. Condensed is much simple than the complete financial statement. The headings and subtotal presented on the entity's most recent annual financial statement is required to compare na din if the entity is doing well rather than the previous years or months. So sa condensed, yung mga necessary information lamang yung mga nakalagay. Disclosure of compliance with PFRS. Disclosed in the notes with the interim financial statement complies with PFRS. Kailangan i-disclose sa notes with the interim financial statement compliance with PFRS. Kailangan sumunod sa accounting standards, especially sa PAS 34. Next is designed to provide an explanation of significant events and transactions arising since the last annual financial statements. It is the selected explanatory notes. So, sa notes of financial statement, di mo kailangan gumawa ng isang buong notes if it doesn't totally needed. Kaya meron tayong selected explanatory notes. For example, you will present quarterly financial statement kung ano yung mga significant events during that period. You can include it in selected explanatory notes. Like for example, biglang bumaba yung sales or stocks because of this pandemic. So, isasama yun sa explanatory notes. You have to include the most recent annual report because of superfluity reasons. When we say superfluity, it means avoiding excessive information that may be unnecessary. So, it is also the reason behind condensed financial report. So, di ba sabi natin kanina, yung condensed ay yung nagpo-provide lamang ng mga necessary informations.
Presentation of comparative interim statement. So, if we are doing interim financial position, you have to prepare at the end of the current interim period. If you are doing monthly, at the end of the month. If you are doing quarterly, at the end of the quarter. You also have to do comparative FS at the end of the preceding year. Next is for the income statement. You have to prepare current interim period cumulatively for the current financial year to date. So, ang meaning nito is, for example, yung na-prepare mong monthly is January from March. So, January, February, and March. And you have to prepare the April monthly. Ang nilalaman ng April mo is cumulative from January. Yun yung meaning ng cumulatively for the current financial year to date. Comparative FS for the comparable interim period last year. So, kung gumawa ka ng interim period for April, kailangan i-present mo din yung interim period mo for April last year. And last is the comparative FS cumulatively for the comparable financial year to date of the last year. Next is seasonal, cyclical, or occasional revenue. They are not anticipated or deferred if not appropriate at the end of the reporting period. And for example, for January, ina-anticipate mo na yung sales mo because you're a flower shop. Sales mo for February is magiging 1 million pesos. So, do not anticipate it or deferred if it is not appropriate for the end of the period. Ayan, for example, dividend revenue. May matatanggap kang dividend revenue from your investment. Do not anticipate it. And royalties. If you're a bookstore, may matatanggap kang royalties next year. Do not anticipate that. Then, government grant. Do not anticipate revenue from the government.
Uneven cost. When you say uneven cost, they're actually uneven kung hindi siya constant per month. So, pwede siyang anticipated kapag appropriate na in-anticipate yung type ng cost. Example, provision of warranty. Pag ikaw ay nag-anticipate ka ng warranty, uneven cost siya. Futuristic yung kanyang dating si warranty. So, mag-anticipate ka na ganito amount na babalik sa akin for warranty, like 60%, 70%, pwede siya i-anticipate, pwede mo siya i-defer. Next, cost of planned major maintenance. You cannot anticipate this kasi dapat nangyari na yung maintenance. Next, advertising expense. Not anticipate din ito. Year-end bonuses, this is given to an employees. May dalawang category. If siya ay nasa legal obligation, siya ay nasa kontrata, or past practice, nagbibigay ka sadya ng bonus every December, kaya anticipate mo na. And you can reliably measure it for 10 years. You are giving away 5,000 Christmas bonus to all of your employees. Anticipate it. Next, irregular cost. Hindi constant. Not anticipated and recorded at the date incurred. Next is depreciation and amortization shall only be made for those assets owned during that interim period. Hindi ito anticipated. Saan ka nakakita ng depreciation na anticipated? Next, paid vacation and holiday leave. Ito yung pwede kang hindi pumasok pero bayad ka pa rin. Enforceable as legal commitments. Therefore, it must be accrued. For example, yung employee mo, bigla siya nag-file ng leave, in-accrued mo na siya. Next, gain and loss. The gain is reported in the interim period realized and loss is reported in the interim period when incurred. Ibig sabihin, do not anticipate kung kailan lang nangyari, dun mo lang siya i-record na interim period. Next is income tax. Interim income tax expense is accrued using the annual effective income tax rate applied to the pre-tax income of the interim period. This what unique with it kung ano annual tax rate yon pa rin ang nag-a-apply mo sa interim period. Effective tax rate of a particular year is applied to the pre-tax income of the interim period in the same tax.
Next is changes in accounting policy. When you charge anong accounting policy reflect to FS, kailangan i-restate mo yung prior, comparative, and interim period. Pag di mo ginawa yon, ito yung failure. Interim allocation difficulties, obscured operating results, complicated analysis, ability of interim, failure of understanding information.